Welcome to StockInvest.us, a world of trading ideas. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. By using the information you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.
Hi and welcome to StockInvest.us podcast for week 28. We're already midsummer. My name is Jim, and last week was yet another green week for Nasdaq. Just as we expected, the week was slow, but green. In these podcasts, we try to tell you what we think will happen in the market the week ahead of us. We look into some of the major stocks, and last week we were quite close to the targets we put for the stocks. Crypto did not manage to gain as much as we thought, so we're still a little bit behind on crypto. The portfolio, which we follow in all these podcasts, did not have the best week at all. But we will get there in a few minutes. I usually start this podcast giving an insight in what I think will drive the market in the week ahead of us, the things that you should look into. And the week ahead of us is really an interesting week. We will start to get the Q2 results. And they will just pop in over the week and set the tone for the markets. You can already start watch JP Morgan's on Tuesday. Goldman Sachs will also come with results on Tuesdays. On Wednesday, you will find the Bank of America, and you will find Wells Fargo, Delta Airlines, and BlackRock. On Thursday, there will come up even more of these financial companies like Morgan Stanley and Alcoa. So it will be an interesting week. These numbers will tell you something how the big companies are doing. And this is the one thing that really can push the market higher. As I told you some weeks ago, when Nasdaq was struggling with 14,000, when it breaks, I think it will go just high. But it really doesn't have that huge momentum yet. But as we will see very shortly, the treasury yield is down. It is 135. It was 143 last week. So even more or less, and mortgages rates are down below the 3% mark. So everything is suited for continued gains in the market. You never know. Of course, there can be, but the general picture is that we are still heading for more and more gains at Nasdaq. I had a target for minimum 15,000. I think that we will get far above 15 as well. But I will warn you, we are heading for a crash, in my opinion. It's just a matter of when. And that timing is always the hardest part. But right now, as we will see, we analyze more than 30,000 stocks across the world, giving them a buy, sell, hold signal. And right now, only 25% of the companies around the world have buy signals. So the market is not really that what we call overheated. Nasdaq is actually at 25%, while New York Stock Exchange is 34%. If we go to the opposite end of the world in Tokyo or Shenzhen, we see that Tokyo have 17% and Shenzhen 24%. So there is really no big alerts in the market right now. And as we know, the different countries still keep pushing more COVID money into the market, and these money will find their way to the stock markets. But eventually, and you can start to read more and more articles about this, things will come to an end. Has to do with inflation, has to do with different things. But we can still enjoy the ride as long as it lasts. Gold, which I told you is a safe haven, well, it's $1,802. Slightly up from last week, but nothing drastical. Oil, which we always follow. I have a huge portfolio in oil-related stocks. I told you this when oil was even sold with minus, that oil was the place you wanted to be. Right now, oil is at $74. I think that we will see a slight decline in oil prices now. The one thing that I haven't mentioned is, of course, this Delta virus that keeps spreading around the world and threatening with new shutdowns. That might very well happen, but before that happens, the inflation is going to eat us all up. In a small country like Lithuania, I can see it all over in the gasoline prices, food prices, house prices still running high. So for this small country, it's going up. I see the same tendencies in Norway, and for sure all the reports from US says the same. And it's another thing all over Europe. But right now we will just be ignorant and play the market as we believe it will continue upwards. And that being said, I believe it will be yet another green week for NASDAQ. And that we will maybe this week already push above 15,000. I'm so unsure where will it all end. Will it be that magical 20,000? Will it be 18? I don't know. If you think I am pessimistic, saying that there will be a crash, well, look back at 2000, 2008, and for us that have been in the market for some time, these are just natural swings. They usually come when the PE ratio starts to get insane high, and a lot of the PE ratios really are very high. Well, I remember we are adding some stock analysis on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel at StockInvest.us and you will find some videos. Some of them have a lot of graphics, some are more audio, but there you will find more information about P ratios and other things you should know about the stocks that you trade. As I told you, the signals across the world, they are not very low and they are not high either, so everything is suited. And last week I said that I didn't believe too much would happen in the Apple stock. I put a target of $140. It ended the week at $145. So how will Apple do this week? Well, everything indicates that it might just continue slowly upwards. Buy signals from the moving averages, of course, a good thing, both the short and the long term and the relation between these two. But right now, Apple is very overbought. Relative strength index is 88. And as I told you last time this happened was back in April, and it took a few days before reality kicked in. And this will happen in Apple. I can promise you that it might do a run now above 150, even up to 155. But in just a short period of time, could be during the next 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure that we will see Apple back at $133. I don't believe this is sustainable, and I can see weaknesses in the volume. For a week as such, it's so hard to say. When the stock is overbought, it can just continue to push upwards. There is no limit, there is no resistance above. I spoke a lot about resistance and support in these podcasts. I will not repeat it in this podcast, but you should look up support and resistance, and there is really no resistance above today's level. So Apple may just go very hard. If we get these bank results in very green, I believe that we should see Apple far above 150. But the low will be there, and Apple is soon about to take a major correction. Hard to say. I don't think it will happen this week. It could be that we see the weaknesses by the end of the week, but for this week I think Apple will trade anywhere between $142 and $157. So it is more upside than downside, and for the week as such, I believe that we can see Apple end somewhere around $147. So not a huge target, but it should be a little bit above today, and during the week I think that we will see intra even higher. The next stock is Microsoft, and usually these stocks follow each other quite close. Microsoft ended last week at $277.94. Same thing as Apple. Buy signals from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average. The relation, the so-called cross between these two averages, so everything is looking just great. The things that we like to look at is, of course, it is overbought on the relative strength index. It's in the top of the trend. So when will it be that we will have this reaction? Being overbought, stocks can just continue very hard. And I think that we will see the same thing with Microsoft as an Apple, that it will be just a good week. Trading somewhere between $276 and $290. Could be by the end of the week that we start to see the correction. Some weaknesses in the volume, but not as much as in Apple. So just enjoy the ride, and when the correction comes, the real big correction comes, you have to remember that Microsoft finds lots of support between $245 and $260. So I don't manage to see anything like super scary. It's more just these natural corrections. There is nothing like a big crack coming in either Apple or Microsoft. It's just that they will have a natural correction. It will be in the range of 10%, I would believe, but nothing major. If you wonder what relative strength index, you can look it up. It's just how many days the stock been going up compared to how many days it's been going down for a given period. In our charts, this is marked with green if it's oversold, and if we look back at May 12th, we would see that at that point, Microsoft was oversold, has a relative strength index at 28 and 27 back in mid of May, and from that point it just reacted up. The price were around $240, and it's been going up more than $30 since it was oversold. But now it is overbought. Forgive me if I mixed a little bit, but green shows oversold and red shows overbought. You will even see a small chart called the relative strength index 14 chart, giving you the picture of what I'm saying. Brings us to a stock which I find more interesting is Tesla, and I've been very positive from Tesla ever since it hit 560. I've been saying it should go up. Last week I kept my target of 710, but Tesla did not manage to get up to 710. It ended the week at 656.95, so we were far off the 710 target. And as I said about Tesla so many times, it's a super hard stock to give a very good prediction, usually because it's highly volatile. It's less volatile now than it's usually are, but still it's very hard. If we look at the stock, we will see that it has a buy signal from the long-term moving average, but a sell signal from the short-term moving average. I would say volume is following the price. I like it. I told you it could be that we'll have a natural reaction, maybe down to the 650 mark before pushing upwards again. And since volume is following the stock, the relative strength index is falling. It was overbought when it hit 680.88 back in late June, and been correcting down ever since. It's also in the top of a falling trend. So in theory, you can expect further down, but I like the volume, how the volume follows the stock. I like that short-term direction. I think that Tesla is trying to break the negative trend, which has been in since it hit 900. Been falling ever since, just like we told you would happen. For the week as such, I think that it could be that Tesla have a very red day. Just natural, could swing all the way down to 630, but it should push upwards, and by the end of the week, hitting a lot of resistance at 680. That's why that 700 target is so hard. Hitting resistance 680, later 700, later 720, 730. So it hits a lot of resistance above. That indicates that things will go slow unless something special happens. But we know the New Deal, we know green technology, and I expect all these EV companies to do good forward. NIO, Li, Tesla, all of these, I think they are the place that you like to be right now. For the week as such, I don't expect something very majorly from the stock since it still struggles. I like what I see, as I said, in the volume, but we need more volume to really show the interest in Tesla. And right now it's just showing that the interest is not as high as this usually are for this stock. By the end of the week, nothing major. I expect the stock to move, as I said, between 630 and maybe as high as 720 high. I will keep the target which I've kept for a few weeks now, 710. It was 660 the target, and later I moved it up to 710 as we reached the 660 target. GameStop took this stock into my analysis last week, and the reason why I tell you these stocks and give you the analysis is just to give you a feel about the market, because they somewhat represent the market and might make it easier for you to understand why things behave as they do. Last week I said I did not expect GameStop to do good at all. I expected it to fall, and GameStop fell. I said I thought it would end at 185, but it ended at 191. So I would say I was fairly right, and I was very right about the direction. But there are several things I like, and this week I will be positive for GameStop. Two reasons are that last week the stock was oversold on the relative strength index. It went to 32. Right now it doesn't have any support before 180, so falling down to 180 will be a super pick. It's in the bottom of the trend, facing a lot of resistance at 100, 200, 210, 220. Nothing really fancy will happen. I don't think it will happen like in an instant rush like we've seen before, doing 30, 40, 50% in a single day. Then it has to be something special, but I think that we will see volume start to push upwards. And volume is following the stock so nicely. That's why I believe it will be a good week for the GameStop holders. And whatever goes to GameStop, you can push to AMC and some of these other meme stocks because they usually follow each other. So I believe it will be a good week for GameStop. Moving upwards, the low might be 180, but I think the high might be as high as 240, maybe even 250 during week. To me, it looks like the upturn should start already today in Monday's trading. In just some 5-6 hours, the trading will start. And I think that GameStop will start pushing upwards. Sell signals from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average. And our system at StockInvest.us, who is only algorithms, very advanced algorithms checking all possible indicators, signals, etc., says hold. And I totally agree with the GameStop, with the algorithms, that GameStop is the place. Hold or accumulate, that's where you want to be. If you're a careful investor, you will wait to see that volume increase. And if volume is your key, well, last Friday, only 291 million there were sold in shares. 2 million shares were bought and sold for approximately $291 million. So that's the thing, more than 2 million shares today, and you will have that sign that the volume is increasing. I'm pretty sure that will happen. Very interesting, and trying to put a target. That's what we'll try to do. Put that target. You might ask, well, you said that there is sell signals from the short and the long-term moving average. Shouldn't you put that into your evaluation? Well, I do, but also remember that the trend is stronger than both short and long-term moving average, and the general trend for the stock is upwards. You can argue that for the last 14 days it's downwards, but in the general picture is upwards, and that the stock is in the lower end of the trend. For the week as such, I will just put a target. I think it will go as high as 250 during the week, could even go 260. Never know about GameStop. But that it will end trading on Friday somewhere around $230. But that's still that is still quite a nice gain during the week if that happens. Remember, it's 191 right now. But 230 will be the target. So this week, positive to GameStop. Usually I analyze Amazon, but we will skip Amazon today, trying to not make the podcast too long. That brings us to the Bitcoin. And in these podcasts, we've been very, very close to the Bitcoin target for weeks and weeks. Lately, I've been a little bit more optimistic. I was very pessimistic when Bitcoin was trading just close to 70, saying that the big fall would come. And I had even several weeks, 21, 22, I said that the Bitcoin would go as low as 27,000, and 23, I was even down at 25,000. Bitcoin fell below 30,000. It was traded as low as 25 at the very lowest, but in general it was starting to slow down just around 30,000. And I've flipped my view from week 24, and for the last 4 weeks I've been saying that Bitcoin will go up. Last week I had a target of $40,000, but on Friday I used Friday as a mark. It ended at 33,500. So it's more or less totally horizontal over the last few weeks, but I like everything I see. And I remain positive and think that the Bitcoin and the cryptos in general are heading for a new upturn. It's just this exactly when will it happen? You have to be some sort of magician if you're able to tell it will be Tuesday or Wednesday. Sometimes you can get very close, but in general, you just want to hit the trend, trying to be correct about the direction. Sell signals from the long-term moving average, buy signal from the short-term moving average. The volume is very low. The stock is trending upwards. The relative strength index is neither high neither low. It's 48. So the thing that you should remember, under 30,000, it can easily fall just down to 20,000. Any trading below 30,000 should put a lot of scare into people and give a huge sell pressure. On the upside, there is plenty of resistance above, and that is why it's struggling so hard to really get a foothold. But once you get that out the way, and every week it starts chewing on this 34, 35 level, at some point it just chew the last piece and breaks up. And I think it will be this week. I think we are above 40 by end of next week. So we'll see. Will I be correct or will I not? So far, I've been, as I said, a little bit optimistic. But as you also may noticed, the crypto stopped falling. Bitcoin stopped falling many weeks ago. So I was right about that. It's just not hitting as high as I think it will go. Should you invest into crypto now? Well, in general, I advise you to be very careful what you do. Play only with money that you are able to lose, because there are no real guarantees. A lot of things can happen and can cause total crash or total euphorism. Anything could be. We had things like China banning crypto, different message. I think it was Salvador that made crypto available in the country for. So things may happen. You never know exactly what. Just keep an eye on the news, see what is trending, and right now I see that several are a bit pessimistic against crypto, and usually that's also a good sign, because when people who really doesn't know anything about trading starts to become negative to crypto, it usually turns. Sometimes actually also you can say that when certain people who is related to certain either brokers or other institutions go out and say something, you can expect the opposite. It's usually because they are bashing just to get in low. There's something called bashing the stocks or segment or whatever it is. They start push some negative news just to get in before a big upturn. Not sure it will be the biggest upturn in Bitcoin, like straight back to 70,000, but I think that we will go upwards. And to answer the question, should you buy it or not? Well, I think it's a good opportunity to get in if you're thinking about crypto. But again, do only with money you are able to lose, or to take a substantial loss. And there is no guarantees. There is no, you can check all TikToks you want about people showing everything, but in general, it's much harder than you think. It's either being professional or being lucky. You can choose which one you want to be. I believe steady sometimes is good. Dogecoin, we had a target for 34 cents last week, and it was far off at 21.7 cents was the ending price on Friday. If you look at the Dogecoin chart, we see more or less the same thing as we do in the Bitcoin. Sell signals from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average, but right now it's oversold on the relative strength index. The volume is more or less totally gone. Elon Musk haven't said woof woof lately or posted any dog twitters, so it's just slowly going downwards. But I think Dogecoin is at very good levels if you want some fun. Risk is of course high. There is no real support at all underneath. You could argue there are some accumulated volume support at 18 cents, later at 12, 13 cents, but in general there is really nothing. On the upside, plenty of resistance from 22 to all the way even up to 60 cents. So you'll really have to struggle for every single cent upwards unless there are major news pushing it really fast. But we see that happens. Interesting, volume is totally dead. And as I told you, volume should follow the stock, or in this case, the crypto. It's a super good sign. It's the one thing that you want. You can just be, if you're a patient investor, you just wait for the volume to start kicking and let that be your buy and sell signal. And that brings us to the last part of this podcast, the portfolio that we usually follow. And for once, I have to admit that I'm very tired of this portfolio. It needs restructuring. But I have several portfolios, and this is a very high risk portfolio, which is very well suited when the market has lots of momentum. And last week was really no momentum at all, so it moves a little bit up and down. And too many penny stocks. Well, the penny stocks do really good when markets are euphoric, but right now markets are not euphoric. I think it will be very soon. But in general, it's been a slow week. And my other portfolios, which one is, of course, oil, as I told you, I like oil, is a feast every single day looking at that portfolio. But this portfolio was not the best last week. I thought it would be the 1 week that it started to push higher, because it's been doing quite okay last few weeks. But last week was with a loss. Diffusion Pharmaceuticals pushed some boring news, and this just more or less totally dead, traded at 64.7 cents. Okay, what will Delta virus do and all these things? Will they eventually hit the market with the product, or will it just fade away and they burn up all the cash which they got in the last few emissions? Every time the stock's been pushing really high, they've been out in the market asking for money, taking the stock down to lower levels. And will it get up? I'm still heavily in profit since I bought at very low prices. But since Christmas, it's actually down 18%. So it's been a long wait for Diffusion Pharmaceuticals. NEO, much more optimistic about NEO. NEO fell last week by 10%. But I would say totally natural correction. And I think that if this week doesn't become very green, it will just show green. I feel very comfortable about NEO. It's just a matter of time. Petrogeoservice, this Norwegian semiconductor company that we follow as well, not the best week either, ended trading at 4 kroner and 76 cents. That's Norwegian currency kroner. But I like it. It's very interesting. They work in they work in the oil fields and getting service and everything. And now, as the companies are making so much money, they will start to acquire more searching fields and again start to buy a lot more of data from PGS, or order PGS, and the utility ratio for the ships are increasing all the time. So I think that it's just a matter of time. Initially, I thought that we would see this stock up above 15, that I would be able this was one of these stocks where I was able to do 5 times the investment. Doesn't look like it will happen anytime soon, because when it really was running and it started to hit 7, 8, it started to slow down. But I like everything about it, still hugely profit, and it will remain in this high-risk portfolio. Arbutus ended the week at 292. Ur Energy got as low as 128 on Friday. That surprised me a bit, but I like what Ur Energy do. And we are still heavily in profit in Ur Energy since we took it into the portfolio at 98 cents. You should say that I could have sold at 170 or used stop loss, but for this high-risk portfolio, I play a little bit different game. Velocity Energy, this lottery ticket of ours, is totally dead, but you can expect that when the market moves sideways or are very slow. Pink stocks, well, they need very heavily green markets to move a lot. Don't worry at all, it's trading at 4.5 cents right now, and it's just a ticket. I don't care if it goes to 0, because it's just for fun. This is for fun stocks. I've seen these stocks. I played them a few times. Half of them go in, and the rest is usually with a loss. That's the way these stocks go. But when they hit the stream, they can do wonders, and it was not the biggest investment. Ook again moves up and down, but I believe we'll see much more from Ook again last week, ending at 727. The biggest support last week was Tencent Music Entertainment. It has a little bit to do with bans coming on Chinese stocks and all kind of these things. But in my opinion, Tencent Music is really undervalued and should have an upside, a huge upside. And as I said before, even Warren Buffett thinks the same thing. I invested, and a few weeks later, he invested as well as Tencent Music with the argument it's undervalued. This is one of the stocks where I use fundamental analysis. It's just they make a lot of money, and the PE ratio is very low for Tencent Music as is compared to just previous. It was one of these stocks that was foresold when one of these hedge funds went over just some months back ago. Last but least, Zomedica, very slow, 73 cents last week, doesn't change much. And the news, well, the news from Zomedica is really boring right now. They are building up a sales force team for the True Pharma product. They are already high priced, but the thing with Zomedica is they have so much money at hand. After last emission, they took in a lot of money when Zomedica was rallying. They used the chance, so they have a lot of cash in hand, and I think that they have put in some interesting people that they will play with this money in a wise way. And that given the right circumstances, that we get that rally where everything goes a little bit frantic, we would see Zomedica run very fast as well. But right now we are in a slight loss in Zomedica, but mainly it's boring to watch week by week, moving a little up and a little down. So there is no real traction. And I will end this podcast quickly just telling you how the chart for Zomedica looks like. Our system at StockInvest.us says sell as a negative score. That's 4.73. But if we analyze the chart, we will see that the stock is oversold, and once the stock managed to gain some momentum, our analysis will also change because it has something to do with risk. Right now it says that the risk is still too high. There is nothing real indication of an upturn. Sell signal from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average, the relation between the two averages, but as I told you, it's oversold. Last time the stock was oversold. Just to give you a few examples, back in April it was at 20, moved from 76 to 110. It was oversold in May, went from 72 cents to 97 cents, and again it's 22 on the relative strength index, and it will be interesting to see how far it pushes. Will it push upwards to 90 or above 1? But there is really not that huge rally. There's nothing indicated these huge rallies where you see 1 and 150 and later maybe 180. Breaking 77 cents, and you will get a buy signals from the short-term moving average, and later if it goes above 82, 83, you will see a buy signals from the long-term moving average. So that can be levels that you want to watch. Make it get above the 80 cents again, and there will be several signals pushed. And volume, and also in this stock, volume will tell the tale. If you don't own the stock, well, I think it's a very good opportunity right now to get in. At least for 10% of whatever margins you want to play. If you have the stock, I don't think it's the right time to sell, simply because there is oversold on the relative strength index, and that you can get more before getting out. That's the end of the podcast. We are at 34 minutes. Usually I keep it going for 40 plus minutes, but it was nice to be a bit quicker today. Midsummer, you should spend more time on your holiday, which I really hope you do. Get some energy and prepare for a very interesting fall ahead of us. I think a lot of things will happen this fall in the stock markets, and again that the volatility will be high. Because right now the volatility isn't that high. It moves slowly, bit by bit upwards, some weeks sideways. And the real fun is when it's moving a bit more. That will be all for today. Hope you will have a very nice week. For sure that you will have a nice week personally, but also that you're able to get some green in your portfolio, make some money. You can go to our Discord channel or webpage or YouTube channel and you will find more information, and bit by bit we're adding more tutorials, etc. on YouTube, where we try to learn you the tips and tricks behind technical trading. Until next week, have a nice.
That's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.